Hi, I'm Joshua Colley, and you're watching The Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I'm happy to be joined by Joshua Colley. How's it going?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so excited to dive into a couple of new projects of yours. But to start off, I know you have a musical theater background. So how did the theater connect with you? And tell me about the community you found in this form of performing.
Oh my gosh. Well, my parents did theater, so it was kind of always in my household as a kid. And so it was always something that I loved. And so when I got the chance to do it professionally, starting at 10 years old, it was wonderful. I was kind of just like I jumped right into it. And I learned so much from, the cast and just working on such big productions. Like I did the Les Mis tour and I did a couple Broadway shows, Newsies and Les Mis. And I really just kind of like that was kind of like school for me in like acting. Like just learning on the job was kind of the way it happened. And it was so wonderful. I feel like a cast can just become a family so quickly. And that goes for TV and film, but especially musicals and theater. I just feel like you build such a rapport with everybody and you do a show every single night. And so like you obviously are like coming up with ways to make it feel interesting still after doing it for such a long time. And that comes with like, that comes in like the form of like having fun with your cast. And yeah, I love musical theater. And so the fact that I got to do Descendants was kind of like a wonderful blending of both worlds, the musical theater aspect and the TV and film aspect, which I've kind of put myself more in the later years. But yeah, I love it. I love theater, I love film, and I'm so happy that I get to blend both of those.
I love that. And I was watching all these performance videos of you from the past, and you were just so dynamic, even at a young age. 13-year-old Jean Valjean. I think that was a fundraising performance you did for Les Mis.
Yeah.
You've been working on original music, which is something very cool, according to older social media posts. So have you made any progress on that
Oh my
front?
gosh, I have. I've have a couple songs that I'm like ready to like, get out there in the world. Um, I definitely think it won't come too far after Descendants comes out. But yeah, I'm definitely working on original music. I just got to find the perfect producer to get it all sounding perfect. And then and then I'll share it with the world. I'm very, very excited about that though.
Who and what inspires you stylistically and in your songwriting?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love this artist named Ryan Beatty. I think he is so, so incredible. I love um Ethan Gruska, Bruno Major, those kind of like very like indie sad boy kind of vibes. I just love them so much. And I think that's definitely reflecting in my style. But there's also kind of like, even like a musical theater kind of energy to it. I'm still a musical theater kid at heart. So I'm kind of trying to do a little bit of storytelling in the songwriting, um, which I think is so fun. And I enjoy songs that I'm making. So yeah, I'm really excited that I'm gonna get to share them soon.
Yeah, you released, I think it was like a teaser of a long distance love song back in
Oh
January. I
my
think the one
gosh.
before that came in like October 2022. So it's been some time, and I'm
Yeah.
glad to know it's being worked on. So you're
No, it
slowly
is. I
getting
promise. I promise. I'm just in the corners just trying to grind and get it together. But yeah, I know I definitely need to post more about them, but I'm just doing little snippets. I'm being mysterious.
I mean, it's one of those things where your first kind of really official release, you want to get it right, so it's taking some time, but
A
I'm
million
excited
percent.
for
Yeah.
for the future. Hopefully, not too soon, like you mentioned, after the release of Descendants. But we'll get into Dead Boy Detectives now. For both Dead Boy Detectives and Descendants: The Rise of Rid, we are discussing spoilers. So for all those watching, please make sure you have finished the series, season one of the series, and the film before continuing. You starred as Monty in Dead Boy Detectives. I love how you describe him as being a cinnamon roll. So, being a crow familiar, he's brought to life without any human experiences. So, what did you focus on in your portrayal, personality wise, and in his physicality and movements?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I definitely kept the crow aspect in mind. I think the costumes also really help. There's little glimmers of the crowness. There's like little feathers in the diamonds of the jacket that I wear. The costume designers really like were able to put that in there, sprinkle it in there nicely. But personality wise, I don't know. I think he's very similar to me in, his kind of bright, energetic energy, but he's also very naive and, he's experiencing the world for the first time. And so I think that was really fun to play with he's just a kid. He's like a boy basically. And he's having all these I mean, the scenes that I got to do were so wonderful that it's just like such fun and interesting content to play. It's like, his first crush, his first first heartbreak. I really got to go through all like the stages and then, going to the demise, of course, unfortunately. I think his storyline is really beautiful, but also kind of like heartbreaking at the same time. Um, I personally love the arc and um I just love the storyline. It just seems like I see a sad boy myself. I love let's just end it all sad. And it's definitely a very sad ending, but I think it's also really beautiful because then he turns back into the crow and then he ends up redeeming himself, which is really wonderful. I just love the character and it was so fun to play and really kind of bring myself to it, but also create a new character entirely. Yeah.
You basically went through his entire arc in that answer. We'll get into maybe the nitty-gritty of some of those feelings.
Okay.
I'm curious about like, were there any details that you created yourself or discussed with the creative team as to Monty's history with and loyalty to Esther, especially because he began in crow form? So was there anything that we didn't get to see on screen that helped inform you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the writers did such a great job. They really like laid it all out for me, and I really didn't have to do much in the lore aspect of it. But, Jenn, who plays the witch, is just literally one of my favorite people. She is so, so wonderful. So, creating our dynamic and the comfortability between us was really important, I think, in the fact that when she's mean to me on set, I obviously was like, this isn't Jenn. You know what I mean? This isn't Jenn. She's such a sweetheart and she's so funny. But yeah, we felt very comfortable with each other on set, so we were able to play that kind of abusive dynamic pretty well without getting any feelings hurt. But yeah, I mean, the whole cast is so wonderful, and I think the dynamics, I just being on set with them informed a lot of what I was doing, just really playing off what they were doing was so wonderful because I was filming Descendants at the same time as Dead Boys, so sometimes it was a little like mind-boggling of like where am I, like what story am I in. But the surrounding the costumes, the cast really helped me like ground myself in the character and play it truthfully. Yeah.
Those dynamics are so great. You know, Jenn, you mentioned as Esther, like the tone of her voice when she would just be like speaking to down at Monty it was so
No.
funny and fun to watch. Like she was so witchy. Tell me about Monty's motives and his interest in Edwin. Like how and when do you think those feelings changed from being Esther's secret weapon to something more genuine? And like you
My
mentioned, that
God.
first crush.
Yeah, I think honestly, probably right when I think it's probably it was a love at first sight kind of thing because Ed, I'm sure he came in with the intentions. Well, I mean, he had an objective, but I don't even think he ever had the intention of like hurting them. You know what I mean? Like he just does what his mother says, and so I think he was just going to do that the best he could. But I think it was like a love at first sight kind of thing where he's like, "Oh my God, like who is this boy? Who is this boy?" Yeah, I think I don't know. It was just yeah, I think that the discoveries kind of came at as I was playing the scene, as I said, like really just like being in the moment of each scene and kind of, feeling out the arcs because also some of it was out of order. And so I think for me, he's in love with Edwin the entire and any interaction he has with Edwin, he's infatuated with him. Um, especially after he start like I feel like after he starts doing his like astrology and stuff like that and Edwin starts showing his interest in his astrology, he's like, oh my gosh, like this is my boy. And then yeah, it sucks that he gets his heart broken, but at least they got to stay friends at to an extent. I don't know. It's just like
To an
it's so
extent, maybe.
complicated. Yeah, it's so complicated. You can kind of interpret it any way you want, but yeah, I love Monty.
Take me through that pivotal swing set scene in episode 5. How did you prepare for it, and how was it to film opposite George?
Oh my gosh, well that was my favorite scene in the show that I got to do. And I had just filmed Descendants that morning and then I got on a plane and I didn't even go to the hotel or anything. I just got on the plane and went straight from the airport to the next set to do that scene. So I was already like, oh my gosh, like flustered and ready to go. I was like, okay, let's do it. Like let's just jump right into it. And I know George was also kind of like nervous for that scene. We were both feeling like very like, ooh, going in, but then we felt very comfortable with each other and we just wanted to like, you know, portray the scene as accurately as possible because that's like an experience I'm sure a lot of people have dealt with, that kind of like rejection. Um, and I think it was written so beautifully that the beats and the energy kind of came very naturally in doing it. And that little swing kind of moment, I came up with that little thing where it's kind of like just swinging over and just kind of like falling into the kiss almost. Like it's almost just like a jolt of like, I'm just gonna do it. And then he kind of falls into it. It just felt it flowed very nicely. Um, and then of course the part where he gets heartbroken, which is it was so wonderful to play because it's just like I don't know what it is, but even when I was doing the scene, I you kind of feel like the character, like the brain has trouble kind of like, you know, what's real, what's not. So it's a lot of it feels very truthful. And like I would hear like a ringing in my ears every time he would say something. Like he would like break my heart. I would hear a ringing in my ears, and that just kind of like really made it feel real. I don't even know the science behind it, but it was very, very wonderful. And George is just the best, and he was the best scene partner. And we grew very close on that set, and he's such a wonderful friend. And I'm so happy I got to do that scene with him.
Just hearing that gives me chills. Like, I think when you open yourself so much to a character and you feel so vulnerable, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, and you had trouble like differentiating it. And yeah, you could see how crushed that Monty was. And, he
Uh,
starts being a little passive aggressive later,
yeah, a little
naturally.
petty, a little petty. Yeah.
Why did he only see romance instead of an opportunity for friendship right away? Was it just like you mentioned, that first crush, like he kind of had to have him?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, I think, I think he would want friendship, and I think they were friends for sure. They're definitely friends, but sometimes those feelings for your friends just are uncontrollable and you can't fight them. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're just like and he's such a little cinnamon roll, as I said. I feel like he just wants to whatever he's feeling, he doesn't really know that, you know, that could ruin their friendship or anything like that. So he's just kind of like acting from the heart. Um, and it, I feel like he's also missed out on a lot of life as a human. He kind of like starts already as like a teenager. So he's kind of probably speed running it. He's like, let's get to it. Let's get fucking to it. And so yeah, I don't know. I think they are friends though. Like, they're friends, but they're also lovers.
And it's funny because I mean, Edwin has a lot of kind of interesting kind of love interest, if you would
Oh
call
my
it, in
gosh, I know.
season
He's
one
hot commodity, hot
competition.
commodity. Yeah.
Tell me about the demise of Monty's human form at Esther's hand, and in crow form, why you think he helped Charles reach his backpack in the season finale.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was so fun to do. That was like a very late shoot that we got to do that. And I've always wanted to do a death scene. I think it's so fun and I also got to stare like right into the camera, which you don't really get to do a lot in TV and film. Like I didn't know that. But it's kind of like staring into the barrel of the camera is like it's an honor. Honestly, I love it. It's like you're looking right at the viewer. Um, and so that moment was kind of like really, that was so fun to do. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think Monty's arc was building to something, and that just I think it felt right that that's what happened. He kind of got it taken away from him. I think it makes for an interesting character. Um, and then I think when, the reason he wants to help is because he doesn't get the chance to like apologize or really like, have that kind of moment of reconciliation with the crew that he becomes so close to. And so I think that was the least he could do was, help him out just to kind of, because what is he going to do as a crow? You know what I mean? Like he can't say anything, so he just has to show it. And I think that little backpack moment is just like the perfect little bow on my arc, and I love it. I really do.
For sure. And in that ending death scene, you could see like the guilt complex creeping up on him. He didn't know that they would be obliterated, basically
Yeah.
consumed by the eternal. With Esther being taken by Lilith, do you think that there's a possibility for Monty to return to his human form at some point should the show be renewed? Like,
Oh
what
my
would you like to
gosh.
explore with him?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I would love that. Yeah, I think there's so many opportunities and so many different ways you can go with him. Even if he stays a crow, that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm sure he'll learn to like love it. I think honestly, even if he stays a crow, I think him being free is something I would love. You know what I mean? Like he can just live his life as a crow, not in a cage. That's like the least I could ask for. But yeah, coming back as human would be wonderful. And I'm sure maybe he could try another shot. He could shoot a shot again with Edwin or find somebody else, or just live the life that he's always wanted to live. So I'm down for whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think Monty's will be fine though. I think he's good.
I love that whole freedom aspect because, like you mentioned, he's been in a cage for so long. And just like go out there and explore
Yeah.
and do his thing. How was your time in Vancouver and working with this cast? I know it was limited because you were back and forth a lot, but I did see some behind the scenes pictures, meals you had together.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. I love Vancouver. It was so beautiful. The main cast was working a lot, and so the moments that I had with them were so special and they were so much fun on set. But David Iacono, who's we don't even have any scenes together, but he's one of my best friends now because of that experience. We were staying in the same hotel, and so we would just, hang out all the time whenever we weren't working. And we really grew very, very close. And I love that guy. He is so wonderful. And now he's filming Jurassic World. He's doing incredible things. And so yeah, he's the best. And he was the one that we really had a lot of fun together. I mean, you can look back at TikToks. We made a couple TikToks and we had a lot of fun. It was so wonderful. We went to jazz clubs. We ran Vancouver for a second. We were running around. We were running amok. But yeah, the whole cast is so wonderful. And seeing them at the premiere in New York was such a wonderful bonding experience. We all had such a great time at the premiere. Seeing, like being with the cast for so long and then not seeing them for a very long time before that project actually comes out all together is like so hard. But then when you do all get together, it's literally like a family reunion every time. And it's so, so wonderful.
That's great. And for those who don't know, David, he played David the Demon
Yes,
in this show.
David the Demon,
Another
which was
great
named
casting.
after him, I believe. I don't think because in the pilot, I don't think the character David had a name even. And then David was like, or David's mom or somebody was like, they should call him David the Demon. And then so he pitched it to Steve, and then that was it. He was David the Demon.
And it just works. It like goes off the tongue
It
perfectly.
flows off the tongue, and that is David the Demon, of course.
Well, I mean, even if you don't reunite, I'm hoping for season two. No news yet, but you were so
Fingers
great
crossed.
in that role. So
Thank you.
yeah, we'll get into Descendants, the Rise of Red. What was your familiarity and relationship like with the franchise before you were cast, and what made these films stand out to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was such a huge fan of the Descendants movies. I loved all the Disney Channel original movies growing up. High School Musical was my real fave. But Descendants is so wonderful. And Kenny Ortega, who did High School Musical and Descendants, anything he touches, I think is just perfect. And so yeah, they were the songs, the cast, everything about those original movies are so iconic. And the whole cast also feels this way. We're such fans of the originals. And so I think that's why we were very precious going in and making sure that we did it justice and like, kind of took the torch that was being passed to us. And it's a completely different story as well. So it's like we're exploring different aspects of this world, while still keeping the originals and honoring the originals. Yeah, I loved the Disney Channel original movies, and to be a part of it and we got to do the wand IDs and things like that. That's always been a dream of mine. Ever that was like my first dream as a kid. And so getting to like fulfill that was so exciting. And to do it in such an incredible franchise like Descendants, and to play such an amazing character was such an honor.
I feel like it's a very full circle moment for you because you performed in a production of The Little Mermaid before, you sang covers from Moana and Hercules. So just like to now be a part of this Disney family,
Yeah.
can you share any details you created yourself or discussed with others as to young Hook's backstory and upbringing? Again, maybe that wasn't shown on screen, but kind of helped you shape him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I think there's so much lore that goes behind these Disney characters. Like again, I really didn't have to do much work because it just kind of like it came very naturally to me who the character was and what his energy was. I knew he was British. That's one thing I knew. I was like, he's got to be British. And then yeah, once you get that costume on and you just are in the set and with all the other characters, it all just comes very naturally. I think I had the most fun kind of creating lore with the other characters. Like, ooh, like I wonder what like Bridget and like Hook's dynamic is like, off screen, like the things you don't see. So we would always come up with funny little plot lines that you don't see on camera. Like, what are they doing at Merlin Academy on the day to day before Chloe and Red get there? So that was a lot of fun to kind of create those kind of stories with ourselves. And it really helped us like ground the characters. And yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. But no, Hook, I went as Hook when I was a kid. As when I was 7 years old, I dressed up as Hook for Halloween. And so I think he's always been inside me and always been a part of me. He's one of my favorite Disney villains. So getting to play him was such an honor. And I also just saw Fantasmic at Disneyland recently and like seeing Hook up there and like on the boat and everything. I was like, that's crazy that I'm playing that character. You know what I mean? It's like such an honor, and I'm so happy that Disney trusted me to portray it.
All these like bucket list moments being checked off for you.
Yeah.
Did you consider how and when he lost his hand? Because I was a bit curious about that, but right from the get-go, we meet him, he already has the hook.
Yeah, I think he probably just lost it to the crocodile. Some things in the movie it's kind of like these are iconic characters, so you have to have the iconic trademark things. That's for the writers to figure out the lore. I don't ask questions. I'm just like, yeah, I have a hook. What are you gonna say? What are you gonna do about it? But yeah, I think the rivalry between, Peter Pan and Hook probably started long, long ago, and the crocodile too. So it makes sense in my mind that he would already have the hook. It's a very rich rivalry. It goes deep. It's long.
And the door is open for, any exploration of the past. But
My gosh,
I'm curious,
yes.
what did you, aside from the British accent, what did you focus on in his personality and in how he moved? Because there was a Harry Hook who was played by Thomas Doherty in the second and third films, I believe. So, like, did you draw any inspiration from other Hook portrayals when you were trying to draw it out from yourself?
For sure. I definitely, Harry Hook is such an iconic character. And I definitely, kept that in mind when I was creating my version of Hook, and I kept all the iterations of Hook in mind. But I think, again, it came very naturally. I hate to say it again, but it really came naturally, and I feel like I knew exactly what to do without even thinking about it really that much. But I think, I wanted to have Hook have kind of like a showmanship, like a showman kind of quality to him. And that confidence I think was really important. Especially at a younger age. Like he's not a sleazy, like he's a little sleazy, but it's not to the extent. He's a little more charming and suave with it. And then as he gets older, maybe it kind of loses a little bit of its luster. But as a kid, I think he's just very confident and he knows exactly who he is. But also, I think he probably is pretty insecure about a lot of different things, the hook, all of it. And so, that's where I think a lot of, villainous tendencies come from insecurity. And so I think his was kind of like, the vanity and like those kind of things, being probably like the wingman or the, the henchman to Uliana. I think all of it comes into play, but he's doing his best. He's doing his best. Which isn't, it's not so great, but he's doing the best he can, with what he's got. Yeah.
That was just perfect how you described it, and I love the loss of luster, like
Yeah, yeah.
when he's getting older, maybe. But on that topic of Uliana and the VKs, what can you share about what you thought their friendship looked like and why he was so loyal to Uliana?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, we did a lot of like exercises and things like that to really find the dynamics. I think especially Morgie and Hook and Uliana have such a special like three-person trio kind of thing going on. And then there's of course Hades and Maleficent. But in my mind, I was really playing of like were her two right hand men, which is funny because he doesn't have a hand, but he's a right hook man, I guess. But I think, Hook is kind of the confidant, and Uliana and him just are kind of like have like this simpatico. I don't know if that's the word, but they just kind of have their little thing going on. And then there's Morgie, who's like always like wanting Uliana's attention. Um, and I think she just gives it to Hook naturally, and then Morgie has to work for it a little bit more. Um, because yeah, I don't know. I think Hook is pretty sharp. He's sharp as his hook. I think he's got a lot going on up here and he's doing a lot of the behind the scenes work. But yeah, I think Uliana is also such a great character, and being by her side and helping her achieve what she wants is kind of like the goal. She really is the leader of the pack. And I think we all just kind of praise her, which is so wonderful because she should be praised.
And it's interesting to think about those dynamics as maybe it also gives Hook a bit of that confidence he's missing as well, being with someone so powerful and
Yeah.
confident in her own right.
Yeah.
What do you remember from filming that big group number in Life is Sweeter?
Oh my gosh, well, that was so wonderful. That was kind of the first time we all were on set in the costumes together and like really finally experiencing what it was like to be in this world. It was such a huge dance number. Ashley Wallen, who did the choreography, was so patient with everyone and is so incredible. And I was so excited to work with him. And he really exceeded all my expectations. That was such a big number. And we kind of rehearsed our bit separately from the good kids. And so the VKs and the good kids, it was kind of like we were all showing each other what we had all learned. And it was like a little surprise for everybody. And so, when the good kids, obviously behind camera, we were hyping up the good kids when they were doing their dance section. And then they were hyping us up when we were doing our section because they hadn't seen all of that yet, and we hadn't seen theirs. And then we have that moment where we all come together and we do this big, like, kind of like a circle around each other. It just felt so like this is what the movie's about. Like this is the movie. It's like all these Disney characters. It's just such like a huge number. And it was just so much fun. I specifically remember there's a moment where during doing the circle and I was right across from Malia and we would just be like mean mugging each other the whole time, but like trying to keep it together and not smile. And so, yeah, that was a great moment for me. It was so much fun. Yeah.
I love your face as Hook when I think someone does some kind of like high kick or fly kick
Yeah,
by him,
yeah,
and he was
yeah,
just like so offended
yeah.
by that.
Like, what are you doing? Like, put your foot down, dude.
I just loved like the back and forth, and it was
Yeah.
such a fun number. How about Perfect Revenge? Because it felt a little different. It was darker in style, not only in sound, but also in the set and some of the choreo.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that was one of the last numbers that we did. And that was one of the last things we did in the whole filming of the movie. And so we had been rehearsing that, like drilling that, like so much. And so it was really in our bones. And then we got onto the set, which we hadn't seen before, or even, it was just very much like, like, wow, like we're really here. And of course, when the set's built and it's like not CGI, which I think they did a great job of blending those both, it just feels so real and it really puts you in the world so much. And it's just so interesting that like you rehearse it so much and then you really only have like a couple takes to do it and then you're done. Like it's like that's it. So I think we were all very like excited for that moment, but nervous and like wanting to get it right. And I'm so happy with the way the number came out. It's one of my favorites of the whole film. And I think the villain numbers are always some of my favorite. I think they're just like they're so fun to do, and it's just like it's such a bop. I mean, the music in this movie is so good, and I'm so lucky that I got to be a part of that number.
And it's so cool how they filmed it as well, kind of with the close-ups, and then you
Yeah,
back out and you see kind of that whole ensemble. And I know
yeah.
you weren't really a dancer going into it. So coming out, like, I mean, how do you feel as a mover? Do you feel a lot more confident in your skills?
I feel a lot more confident. I really do, thanks to Ashley and everybody. Yeah, going in, I was so nervous about it, but we all kind of learned together and we all were in it together. And I think that kind of team mentality really gave me the confidence to um, do my best. And I think I'm really happy with the way it came out. And I definitely won't be as scared the next time I go into a dancey environment.
That's great. And going towards, kind of those end scenes, I know Hook was hexed in Merlin's office, but what do you think he was thinking, watching their plans be foiled, unable to do anything about it, and then to add insult to injury, he gets pushed over and his boots get stolen?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure he was just very shocked. He wasn't expecting that. Uliana probably had been like, this is gonna work. This is gonna be great. And then it was just a surprise to everybody when it didn't. Um, I love that moment. That's one of my favorite beats in the moment. In the movie is so funny. Me getting pushed down. And when they told me I was gonna get to that, I was like, yes. And then I get my boots stolen too. They steal my boots, and I was like, you got what? You guys, like kicking a brother when he's down. Like, come on, what are we doing? But no, that was so much fun. And then like when Merlin comes in, he's like, hi, like that is such a funny beat. Like, I just loved it. I think it's a really fun way for our characters to like end in the movie. But all I know is we're gonna want revenge after that. That was a brutal way to go out. So keep your eyes peeled. We're coming.
I mean, karma, a little bit of karma. What can you say? What directions were you given for that fixed facial expression? Did you just try to make it as like expressive as
Yeah,
possible?
they're like, you guys are so excited and you're frozen in this shocked state. But we really had to stay perfectly still for all of it. And it was really hard. Like we would be like laughing and like trying not to break because it was, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Such a great story and like such fun things that we get to do. I can't believe it's our job, and I'm so lucky that I get to do such fun things like this.
So with Hook, kind of teasing like there could be future Descendants projects. Obviously, we don't know at this time, but what else would you be interested in exploring with him or even any of the other characters that we met in Rise of Red?
Oh my gosh, I want to see everything. You know what I mean? I think I'd love to have my own song. I'd love a song. That would be so wonderful. I'd also think, who knows if it would happen, but I would love to see what Neverland looks like in the Descendants world. I think we've seen Wonderland, we've seen, Oregon and everything, and let's see what Neverland is looking like. Like, let's see what's going on over there. Selfishly, I'm like, let's let's take a trip over here. Yeah, I think there's so much though. There's so much to explore, so much world, so much lore. So hopefully we get another movie. I think that would be so much fun.
Take me through creating Hook's personal look and style with hair, makeup, and wardrobe. How was that for you?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I think, you build it up in your head so much. And I had very like strong ideas of what I thought it was going to be. In my audition, I even like put a little eyebrow slit in my eye because I was like, let's just add something to it. And so yeah, finally getting to put on the costume, it really was so wonderful. And the costume department did such a wonderful job. And I got to like really pick the jewelry that I liked and what, made it feel like I was the character and I had some choice to it. And then they let me do my own hair, which I loved. I was like, what if I just did it? And they were like, sure, go ahead, like do it. And then I, of course, asked for eyeliner. I was like, guys, we got to have eyeliner. It's Hook. And so they made sure that happened for me too. Yeah. And I think also the hook was such a key part of the character. And once I got that on, it's just like you fall right into the character. You know what I mean? Like you really just become Hook. And they all did such an amazing job.
I noticed that the jewelry, like you said, and there was like a pin on his jacket. Was there any significance for that one in particular?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just remember seeing in the costume designs that there was like they had put stuff on the jacket, and I was just like, I want something on the jacket. I was like, can we put a pin here? And they were like, yeah, let's put a pin. And then so they just found a really nice one and put it right on there. I was like, he needs to be blinged out. Like, guys, come on. Like, we gotta have a hook. He's gotta have jewelry. He's definitely, I just think he's showing off in every aspect all the time. And so, even his hook is shiny. I'm sure he polishes it every night. So it just makes sense that he would have incredible jewelry as well.
It's definitely someone who wants to give off, that impression of
Yeah.
being kind of grand and maybe kind of wealthy. And I know you said in another interview that that hook was very sharp, so hopefully no onset safety
Oh my
incidents.
gosh, no, not too bad. But of course, every once in a while there'll be a little tear of a clothing item or two, just because you got to be careful. You got to watch out, okay? I'm swinging that thing left and right. I'm not looking where I'm going, and so I'm sure, especially Peter, because we're very close the entire time. He got hooked a couple times, but he made it out unscathed. He's good.
No big scratches or
Yeah,
anything
no
like that.
scratches here. No.
And I mean, on that note, like in terms of like moving your hand around, I don't know, because I also was listening to the story about pulling the fire alarm. So there's that
Uh,
like hand movement needing to be a bit more careful where the hand goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, it was really heavy actually. The hook was like so heavy and I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't rehearsing all these dance numbers with a hook. And so once I got it on, I was like, whoa, whoa, I gotta balance my weight a little bit more. Yeah, it was really heavy. But it was so cool. Everyone was so jealous of my hook. I let everybody try it on. I'd be like, here, you want to try on my hook? And there was like fur on the inside. They tried to make it as comfortable as possible. It was definitely like a lot to have on the hand, but they did their best, and I'm so happy that I got to wear it. It's so fun. I was like, I want to take it home. I gotta steal it. Next time I see it, I gotta take it.
I mean, it's probably being kept away just for the time being. So
Oh my
hopefully in the
gosh.
future, what can
Exactly.
you say about working with your ensemble cast and how you bonded on and off set?
Oh my gosh. Well, we were such a family, and like I think everyone's dynamics are so wonderful together and everybody fits so perfectly, like a perfect little puzzle. I don't know. I think, casting directors, I think there's some sort of like magic, honestly, because in most casts that I've been a part of, um, like these people all go so perfectly together and they're such incredible, wonderful people. Especially on Descendants, I think, there's gonna be a lot of kids and like even adults that are gonna see, Kylie and Malia and Ruby and Morgan and all these people, and like they're gonna be looking up to them. And I think they're such incredible role models for everyone that's gonna be watching the movie. They're really perfect people, and they have such big hearts. And so I'm so lucky that I get to work with them, and everyone is so lucky that they're gonna get to have them as the next, kind of generation of Descendants. Yeah.
Don't sell yourself short. You and the VKs, I'm sure if there's something cooking
Oh
for any
yes,
kind
of
of redemption, but it's so nice to,
course.
see all of you come into your roles as well. Tell me about the support from the Descendants fandom and what that's meant to you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, we just did VidCon recently, so we finally got to kind of interact with the fans like face to face, and they were so welcoming and so wonderful. Obviously, we're all a little bit nervous going into it because these are such big movies and they hold such a special place in a lot of people's hearts, but including ours. I think that's also what people need to remember is that we are the cast are the fans as well, and so we would never like do anything that would discredit the originals or anything like that. We're very much honoring the originals, and they're all still there. You know what I mean? Like those are the iconic movies, and we're just kind of, adding on to the world and like letting everyone explore a little bit more of the world of Descendants, which I know I'm so excited for everyone to see. Yeah.
And speaking about fandom, you have your own fans as well. I came across an update account for you on Instagram, and there's one that you have had some nice interactions with that supported you in your career since 2020. I think it was Joshua Colley is swag. So how
Oh my
special is
gosh.
it to have these people who care so much about you and what you're doing?
Like literally, it means the world. They're the sweetest people ever. And the fact that they're supporting me and they've been supporting me for so long, even before all of this, just means so much to me. And I'm like, those are the real ones. You know what I mean? I'm always making sure I'm liking all their comments. I'm like responding to all their things because I'm like, those people have been there for me since the very start and they believed in me from the start. And they're just such wonderful people. I'm so lucky that these incredible people are supporting me, and I'm gonna support them wherever I can as well. Yeah.
Well, more good times to come. I couldn't be prouder to see it happen to you
Oh,
and how
thanks.
talented you are. I have one more question for you, our signature question. If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
My gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, maybe I'll go with my favorite ice cream flavor, which is a weird one for me because I wouldn't even think to like before I had this ice cream, I wouldn't even give it a second glance, but then I had it and I was like, this is my favorite ice cream ever. It is the Haagen-Dazs white chocolate raspberry truffle one. Oh my God, it is so good. And I think I relate to that because it has a lot of different layers. You know what I mean? It's got sweet, it's tart, it's got, it's rich. I don't know, it's good. It's got a lot going on. And I think I'm just, yeah, I'm a layered person. And so I think I relate to that in that way. Yeah.
Perfect way to end things off with that personification. Thank you so much, Joshua, for taking the time to chat.
Thank you. You're the best.
You are, and I hope we get to catch up again. But until then, for all those watching, make sure to catch Joshua and Dead Boy Detective season 1 is out on Netflix. Descendants: The Rise of Red is streaming on Disney Plus July 12th and premiering on Disney Channel August 9th. And we will see you next time.
See?